Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into something pretty revolutionary. It's a way of looking at the human face that connects our appearance not just to, beauty, but to our actual health and wellness. So, what is that connection? Well, let's get into it. It's a wild question, right? I mean, we usually think about our jawline as something that makes us look good. But what if its exact position is the key to solving some of our most nagging health problems?
Okay, think about this for a second. Chronic headaches, really bad jaw pain, sleep apnea, and even what we consider to be facial beauty. They all seem like totally separate issues. But what if I told you there's a surprising common thread that ties them all together?
So, what is this hidden link? How on earth can the literal structure of our face have such a massive impact on how we breathe, how we sleep, and just our day-to-day comfort?
And here it is. It all comes down to the precise position of your jaw and your facial bones. It turns out a lot of these health problems aren't just random bad luck. Nope, they're often a direct result of our underlying anatomy. And that, right there, is a total game changer in how we think about this stuff.
Now, to really get why this is such a huge breakthrough, we gotta look back a little bit. For decades, the tools that doctors and orthodontists were using were based on a pretty outdated blueprint, one that wasn't even designed to see this critical connection.
The renowned orthodontist Dr. James McNamara just nails the problem here. He pointed out that all these foundational methods were created way back when we thought facial bones were basically set in stone. Sure, you could move teeth around, but the idea of actually guiding the jaw itself, that was considered impossible.
And this comparison just lays it all out, doesn't it? The old way was all about the teeth. Get them straight and that's it. They just assumed the bones couldn't be changed. But the new way, it's all about the face and your health. It recognizes that, yeah, with modern techniques, we can guide bone growth and its position, and that leads to benefits that go way, way beyond just a straight smile.
So if that old blueprint is out, what's in? Well, this is where we get to a modern, way more comprehensive approach called the Jefferson Cephalometric Analysis.
The best way to think about it is like an architect's blueprint, but for the human face. It gives us this super clear, detailed guide for how to achieve harmony, not just in how we look, but in how our body functions too. It shows where every part of the face is, and, crucially, where it should be for everything to work right. Now, here's what makes this so incredibly powerful. It's universal. See, older methods needed different standards for different people, which gets complicated. But the Jefferson analysis, it lays out one single ideal blueprint for our facial structure. And that simplifies everything, from figuring out the problem to setting the treatment goals. So how does this blueprint even get made? Well, it breaks down into a really simple three-step process. First, you draw 4 key planes on an X-ray to basically map the face. Then, using those planes, you find one single critical center point. And finally, from that one point, you draw 3 incredibly important reference arcs. Okay, so these 3 arcs are the absolute heart of the whole thing. They're called the FBH arcs, which stands for Facial Beauty Health. Just think of them as the perfect boundaries for the face. The anterior arc sets the ideal forward position for your chin and lips, and the 2 vertical arcs define the perfect facial height as you grow, from a kid at age 4 to an adult at 18. Every single patient is measured against this perfect guide. All right, so once you've got this blueprint all drawn up, how do you actually use it? Well, it lets doctors classify different facial types and zero in on the exact source of a problem. First, let's get a couple of key terms down. It's super simple. If a part of your face, like your jaw, is retrognathic, it just means it's set too far back compared to that ideal blueprint. And if it's prognathic, you guessed it, it's too far forward. That's it. And with those terms, you get this really clear classification system. A skeletal eye is the ideal. Both jaws are right where they should be. But a skeletal 2B is super common. That's where the upper jaw is fine, but the lower jaw is retrognathic or set too far back. And that is where so many of those health problems kick in. Okay, and this is where the rubber meets the road, because this isn't just some theory on paper. Applying this analysis leads to genuinely life-changing results for people. Let's take a look at how. So here's the big aha moment. When that lower jaw is set too far back, when it's retrognathic, it doesn't just mess with your profile, it physically pushes back on your jaw joint, causing compression and pain, and it can actually squeeze the airway in your throat, making it harder to breathe. And get this, the results of fixing this can be absolutely staggering. In this real patient case, just look at the difference in their airway space before and after treatment. By guiding the jaw forward to where it's supposed to be, this patient's airway nearly tripled in size. Can you just imagine the difference that makes in their sleep, their energy, everything? And that's the magic right there. The treatment physically moves the jaw down and forward. That decompresses those painful joints and literally opens up the airway. It's a structural solution for a structural problem, and it tackles things like TMD and sleep apnea right at the source. So, what does this all mean for the future? Well, it's a fundamental shift, really. A whole new way of thinking about orthodontics, dentistry, and honestly, even medicine as a whole. You know, this quote from Dr. Yosh Jefferson, the person who actually developed this whole analysis, just says it all. The future isn't just about getting straight teeth anymore. It's about looking at the entire face, improving aesthetics, sure, but also fixing serious medical problems at the very same time. And that's really the big takeaway here. Your smile, your profile, the shape of your face. It's not some separate thing from your health. It is a critical, deeply interconnected part of a system that affects how you breathe, how you sleep, and how you feel every single day. Which really just leaves us with one final and I think pretty important question to think about. When it comes to your health, is your doctor looking at the bigger picture? Thanks so much for joining me.